There is a feature around that almost exists since the beginning of Vapi, and for some reason I never made a video on my channel, even though I believe it is an incredibly important feature. Now, you have maybe seen similar things, what I called inside of my templates, dynamic tags, which is what we're going to discuss today, but in the official Vapi way, called dynamic variables. Now, if you haven't heard of dynamic variables now, you definitely should, because that allows you to actually bring dynamic information into your Vapi assistant, meaning that you can customize the first name, for example, for whoever the AI is calling or whenever it receives the call, etc. You can just even completely customize and make your prompts dynamic during a call or before the call for that assistant using those dynamic variables. Now, like I mentioned, the concept is around since nearly the beginning, but for some reason, and I really don't know, I never made a video about it because I basically built out my own system back then and I leveraged that. But I realized through all of my templates that you guys really struggle setting that up, either because someone doesn't know and understand how Json works, because it's way too complicated, or things just broke. And even though I created debugging videos, there were still so many questions that I decided to make a video about that and cover everything about dynamic variables in depth so that you understand how you can leverage them. Now let's jump on my screen here and I'm gonna head over to the Vapi documentation, and you can see they have a menu item called dynamic variables with a help file that looks like this, which explains a little bit more of what dynamic variables are. Now, I'm gonna save you all of that. I'm gonna give you a quick explanation of how you can leverage that and what it is, how you set it up, etc. And I can already tell you, you don't need to have any coding knowledge for that. The only thing you need to understand a little bit is JSON constructs. Now, JSON is not a programming language. It is a structured data format that basically helps robots, let's say, to understand certain data. Now, while we are talking, we have objectives in the sentence. Let's say, I like trees. So tree is basically what we're looking for. It's like an entity. In order for the machines to understand that, we need to separate that. So we would say something like entity equals tree or whatever that looks like, right? And this is nothing else what JSON does. It just brings information into a structured format so that robots can read and understand it and leverage that inside of automations and AI, etc. That's a very basic explanation of it. But I just want you to grasp the concept of it, which you can also see here on the screen. This is, by the way, a JSON example. And as you can see in the example here, variable values, like the name says, defines the variable values and key. So this is basically a key value pair, which is a variable, right? So we have a variable called name and we have the value John. We could do the same thing with a lot of other values. And this allows us inside of Vapi to feed in dynamic information into our voice assistants. Now, you can use it mostly anywhere, meaning for inbound calls, for outbound calls. All of them have a slightly different setup. But my goal with this video is to give you a basic understanding on how it works, how you can actually leverage it. And I'm gonna also provide you some extra goodies at the end of this video, meaning I'll give you a make.com inbound template that completely sets up the dynamic tags for you in the most easy way that I found for make.com to make it work, so that you can feed in dynamic variables or values without the need of understanding literally anything. You don't even need to understand JSON, because I will validate all of that stuff for you, and I'm gonna show you in a second. Second thing, I'm gonna give you the same template for outbound calls, which is even simpler, so that you can start using dynamic variables and make your assistants better. Now, if all of that still doesn't really make sense for you, let's dive into a practical example so I can actually show you how and where we use dynamic variables of making the AI better. And to do that, let's head over into my Vapi dashboard. And you can see here, I have a single assistant called Ava, which looks like this. And all I did is I created an assistant, gave it the name Ava, and I think I selected customer support as a quick start template. And this gave me basically this. So we have a first message that says, hello, this is Ava, how may I assist you today? Blah, blah, blah. You have your system prompt instructions. This is basically the brain of your voice assistant. But this is, as you can imagine, a static assistant, which is just defined inside of the Vapi dashboard, meaning there is nothing customized or nothing dynamic in the sense of, if you make a call with this, it always has the same information. There's nothing customer specific or customer related, meaning if you would, for example, like to address the user with their first name, let's say something like this, hello Yannis, this is Ava. You could not just do that because this is a static setup that by default doesn't support these dynamic values. Now, this is the reason dynamic variables exists, because now instead of defining a name, what we can do is we can do something like this. We set double curly brackets, and in here I set first underscore name, which then translates into a dynamic variable. So this variable will automatically be replaced during a call based on the values that you provided inside of the JSON that we're gonna send along. Now you can imagine that if I publish this now and I basically make a phone call, it has no value, so it will just say, hello, this is Ava, because this tag doesn't have any information. So we need to obviously feed it some information during the call. Now to actually show you how that works, we are going to make an outbound call using make.com with the first template that I created for you. You will be able to access a template and download both of them inside of my resource hub completely for free under hub.integraticus.com. Simply create an account, you will find the help file there. It's also linked down below in the description so you can easily access it. And you can get started the same way. I suggest doing that because you can literally follow me along on the screen while checking out what I actually built so that you get a better understanding of it and you can customize it at the exact same time. Now this tag is already one that I predefined inside of the template that you will find in the resource hub. So it's called first_name. And once we import the template, which looks like this, so it's literally just 3 modules. By the way, if you don't know how to import it, you click down here on the 3 dots, you go to import blueprint and you import the blueprint that you will find in the help file. It is as simple as that. Before I dive in, I'm going to show you an example because right in here I have a variable setup that is called first name, you can see, and current day. So these are 2 tags that I added to this dynamic JSON, which basically is the dynamic variables. I created it visually so that you can adjust it very, very easily, and it is basically just all put together in this last module, which initiates a call on Vapi. So there's another setup, you never need to touch that, I'm just going to show it to you. Because we have in here a setting called assistant overrides with the variable values, and we built them dynamically from the JSON before. Now, to actually show you that it works and how well it works, I'm going to call myself, and you can see here I have basically a name, which is Yannis. This is defined in here, which I'm going to show you in a second. But when I call myself, you'll see that this tag is automatically translated to my name. Okay, all I need to do is I click on run once, and you will now see in a second, once this is through, I will get a call, which is right here. I'm gonna take that.
Hello, this is Ava. How may I assist you today?
Okay, it just said, hello, this is Ava. I guess probably because I didn't save it properly. All right, I just realized here I wrote something wrong. I wrote fifth name instead of first name. You obviously want to write your variables correctly if you already provide them. So I'm just gonna publish that and I'm gonna give this another try. All I'm going to do is I'll click on run once. And now you will see, I will get a call here, which I take now, and it should say my name.
Hello, Janice. This is Ava.
There we go. So now we have my name in there. So basically, the dynamic tag that we created is replaced by the variable that we define inside of this outbound module. And I just set it up here with tags, but in the end, you can also use a webhook module or anything else. All you need to do is you need to fill in the information and send it over. So in your case, you can just copy them and you can just have a webhook module in the front and then leverage that. Now, to make sure you actually know everything you need to know to set up the scenario, I'm gonna guide you through it step by step. Now let's get started with the first module, which is a set multiple variables module within the tool section or within the tool actions. And by clicking on it, you will see we have a couple of predefined values that you can adjust based on your needs and based on whatever you have. But I'm gonna guide you through on how you can do that. First name and phone number are obviously dynamic tags that in my case, I just statically defined here. You can just replace them by your own, but if you would like to use it in a live example, for example, you would use database specific values from before, or you have a webhook module where you send over customer specific data that you want to use to initiate an outbound call, which happens with this module over here. And these values, they can basically just be statically defined. In my case, I just use a variable. You don't even need to use them here because what we later on do is we're going to use them in this variables module over here. But I'm going to show you that in a second. Now, the more important ones are these down here, the Vapi API key, assistant ID, and phone number ID. You would basically need to add your very own variables here. The Vapi API key you will find in your dashboard by clicking at the bottom left on your email address, then going to API keys. You create a private API key, and this is the one you paste into the variable value field. Now, for the assistant ID, it's going to be very simple. You head over to your Vapi dashboard, go to assistants, open your assistant, and up here is an ID. You just copy that one, and you add that right within this variable value over here. Phone number ID, very similar thing. You go into your dashboard, you head to phone numbers, you click on the phone number, and you copy the ID of the phone number. Same thing, right? You paste it down here. Once you have done that, you are most likely set up with the most important and crucial parts to actually start the phone call with your assistant. Then what you would like to do is you would click in this create JSON module, and you will probably not have a data structure right here. So what I suggest you to do is you create a data structure by clicking on add. You're going to open this, and here you have specifications. And what you would like to do here is you're going to go on the add item. You're going to type in for the name first_name. You keep it a text field. The rest you just keep it as it is. And down here we can also say current time, for example. And we're going to keep the same thing empty as well. Now if I click OK, you'll see that it basically just loads the data structure. And I have here current time. It's empty now. I'm just going to use the one from before because I had the values filled. Because what I have here defined is current day. It's actually not current time. And this is a predefined variable that I'm going to add as well into my resource hub, which literally just outputs the current day, meaning that this, whatever you define here as a name within the data structure, I'm going to show you here, you can click on the little 3 dots and add it once you have created one. This, what we have here in the name field, is the tag that we're going to use for the dynamic variable. So if the name is set to current underscore day, inside of my prompt, I can use something like double curly brackets and current day. And this will then be basically replaced by whatever value I provide inside of the field of that current day create JSON module, right? This is the way it works. So in here, we feed in the dynamic name from whatever we get from before inside of the make.com scenario. So you can hook this up to your webhook, whatever that looks like. You're gonna paste in the variable for the dynamic name that you want to fetch. You click OK, and you are good to go. There's literally nothing else you need to adjust. Now, I definitely suggest you that if you would like to have more text, you're gonna go to edit. You can edit all of them or add all of them here by clicking on add item, add multiple ones. Maybe even select a different format. I usually suggest keeping it as string because for most cases that is totally sufficient. And this will then automatically be available in the assistant that you connected with the assistant ID over here. So this is the way it works. It's not really complicated. Unfortunately, in the JSON blueprints or in the make.com blueprints, I cannot share the data structure. I don't know, I just never really get it over, and you have to definitely create your own. That's why all you do is you click on add here. You're gonna adjust it, which looks like this. Gonna add all of your dynamic tags, click save, and you're good to go. This is all for the outbound template. There's literally not much else you need to do. I literally try to keep it as simple and as efficient as possible, which I guess I achieved here. So you're most welcome to just use it and customize it in the way you need. Use it for your own agency, use it for your own business, for your own clients, whatever that looks like. You're most welcome to do that. One more thing I would like to mention for the outbound call template itself. When we click into the module, in here I define an assistant ID, meaning that we are going to make a call with the actual assistant that we selected from earlier, right, with the ID. So that is a good thing because we can dynamically and visually actually adjust the assistant in here with all of the features that Vapi offers, and we don't need to have any dynamic setup whatsoever. Now, if you're part of my channel, you know that there is something else called a transient-based assistant or a transient assistant, meaning that an assistant that doesn't really exist on Vapi until the moment you actually send a request for a call. And to better explain you what that actually is, you can head over to the documentation. I just love to show the API reference. And here in Create Assistant, you can see as well that you can literally just feed in a whole JSON construct of whatever the assistant looks like. Right? This is a dynamic assistant that is literally just a JSON construct, and it doesn't exist in the database. It only exists in this structured data format that you can also send through within the outbound template if you want to and create the assistant on demand. However, if you're just starting out, this setup is more than efficient for you and more than enough, trust me. You can literally just run it once and you have the assistant in the backend. You don't need to worry about JSON constructs whatsoever. You can literally just use it from here, can use the dynamic tags, and you will most likely achieve a lot of things already out of the box. Now, I know that's a lot of information for outbound, but I hope it makes it clear for you on how outbound stuff actually works with the calls and the dynamic variables. Now, let's head over to the second part, which is the inbound agent. Unfortunately, it is not as straightforward with the inbound agent like with the outbound one, but I promise I made it as easy as possible so that you can still get inbound calls to the voice assistant, and you can use and leverage dynamic text without much customization and without much need for understanding JSON constructs. Now, to actually show you how that looks, we're going to use the exact same assistant right here. We have our dynamic tags here, right, that we already set up. So I'm just going to save that again to show you that this is actually the current one. And what we are going to do now is we're going to download from our resource hub the second template, which looks something like this. So a couple of more modules, but I'm gonna promise it's gonna be very easy to set up. The first thing, and this is literally just for the setup, this is for now not like to use or customize the dynamic variables. I'm just gonna show you the setup. Because what we have here is that we have a custom webhook trigger and we have a custom webhook response, meaning that this can receive information from a URL. This sends back information to that URL that called initially. Now, to make sure all of this works properly, what we do in the first step is you obviously click on the 3 dots, import blueprint. You import the blueprint from the resource hub, and you will see these kind of modules right here. Now all you're going to do is you click here on the webhook module and you will see a dynamic URL. If you don't see it, you probably have not set up one for this scenario yet. So what you do is you click on add, you create a webhook URL, and then you copy the address to clipboard, which literally copies this URL right here. This is the URL that Vapi will use to communicate to and request an assistant. Now, this is usually used for a more technical setup for using transient-based assistants. But what I did here in this example is I'm using a webhook request to get the assistant from our database and turn it into a transient assistant. You might ask, why the heck, Yannis, would you do that? The reason is simple, because I like simplicity and I like to edit stuff in the dashboard. So in my case, what I'm going to do is I literally just use that assistant that we created in here, and I'm gonna customize it only within here. And I will still be able to use it inside of my inbound template dynamically without actually creating a JSON all over and every single time I need to call an assistant or an assistant is called. By the way, this concept, if you would like to read more about it, you will find it in the documentation down here under server URL. And here there is something called server events. And in here you will find, by scrolling down a bit more, retrieving assistants. This is literally what is sent over by Vapi to request an assistant. And this is exactly what we're doing here, just for you as an explanation. Now, to actually get it set up, what we do is we head over into our Vapi dashboard. We go to phone numbers, and in the phone number, it is important that you do not select an assistant for the phone number that you would like to use, which in my case is this one. Now, if you don't add an assistant, you will see a message that looks like this right here. We'll send an assistant request to server URL, blah, 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 to fetch assistant. This is exactly what you would like. This is a very, very crucial step, so make sure you don't connect the phone number directly to an assistant. You just keep it the way it is right here. What you do then is you head down to your account, you go to settings, and in the settings you will have a field here called server URL. And all you do is you paste the URL of that webhook that we copied from within make.com into this field. This is literally all you do. You can just go out of it, it saves it automatically. And once you've done that, you are good to go. Now, whenever you call that phone number, Vapi is trying to request a dynamic assistant from that URL, which will arrive here, where we fetch the static assistant that we connect inside of Vapi. I'm gonna show you now how, and we're gonna send that back to Vapi. Now, how does it actually look if we're going to send that and if we're actually going to try it? And that's what I'm gonna show you now. So all I'm going to do is I'll head back into my Vapi assistant. You'll see here I have first name as a tag. Inside of the template in this module, I have also set up my name. So all I'm going to do is I'll just call the assistant to show you that I actually have the name of that assistant dynamically fetched from within here. And we can even run that so you actually see how it works. Okay, I'm gonna make the call now.
Hello, Janice. This is Ava. How may I assist you today?
Hello, Janice. This is Ava. Awesome. So you can see we have access to our name, which is defined in here, and I'm going to show you now how it looks like. Now, this module itself is responsible for all of the dynamic tags that we need to set up in order to actually make that whole request and communication between Vapi and make.com work. And when clicking on it, you can see we have again the first name tag, just like with the outbound call. We have an assistant ID that we can connect to this setup. So this is basically the assistant that we are going to call during the inbound call. I have to mention, and I'm pretty sure this is going to be a question, when you head into the Vapi dashboard and you go to your settings, right, and you add the server URL, this will, in general, use all of the phone numbers that are not connected to an assistant. So to any of those phone numbers, so any phone number that is not connected to an assistant will basically end up in this scenario and will be called. So if you want to make sure it is only limited to a certain phone number or maybe even to a certain assistant. So if you want to limit that, what you can do is you can click here on the filter and you can literally just use the incoming information to filter out requests that you would not like. Meaning, let's say you only want to fire that on one phone number. What you would do is you open the phone number tab, you select the number the calls were made from, and once you added that to your dropdown, you can just check against the number of that number that you have in the Vapi dashboard, right? And it will only let this one through. Otherwise, it will just not execute the scenario. This is one way on how you can limit that, in case you ask yourself, yeah, it's firing on every phone number, I don't want that. Now, the next part is obviously defining the assistant ID. This is the assistant that we actually want to use for this inbound call for this phone number. And this is the same that we will find again inside of our Vapi dashboard, assistant, and the assistant ID is right here. After you grab that, you can simply add that in here, and you do the same thing again with the Vapi API key that is located in your dashboard, bottom left, API keys, private API key. Now, once you added that, all you do is you click on OK, and you are basically good to go in the default structure. Now, if you say you would like to have custom variables, so other dynamic variables apart from the ones that I use, you definitely want to open this create.json. Oh, you actually have to open this create.json because the JSON structure, just like in the outbound template, isn't sent over in blueprints of make.com. So what you do is you click on create JSON right here. You click on add up here. You add your own demo structure. Same setup. You go to edit. You can define the fields that you would basically like to be filled. Name equals the tag that you have inside of the template. Again, you can see current_day is basically translated to current_day inside of curly brackets. It's the exact same setup, so you just define that, you save it, and then you map dynamically the values that you would like to have during that phone call inside of the assistant. Now, this one as well is just turned to JSON, returned, and then we basically have the potential of turning that into a dynamic assistant from the static assistant in Vapi. And in case you're wondering how you can get actual user information into the inbound calls from here, it's very, very easy as well. What you would do is you just literally take the information that is available in the message. So this is going to be all of the data that is basically sent over from Vapi. You can go, for example, to the caller customer, which contains the name and the phone number in most of the cases of the current incoming call. Right, if you make a phone call through Twilio or Vonage, for example, and then you can use that to make, for example, a Google Sheet request with a new module. So you have the Google Sheet module right here. You can search for it as well. And then you can search for a row based on the phone number, fetch that customer information if you have any, and then fill that again into the dynamic variables right within here. So this is a very easy way on how you can get access to customer-specific information directly inside of this template so that you can customize it with special user information. I hope that makes a lot more sense now and it's clear. And this template is literally the easiest and most optimized version that I could find, which even is better than the normal dynamic text that I previously created if you don't know how JSON works and you want to make sure nothing breaks, because this stuff will basically automatically validate all the informations for JSON so that you don't have to. Now, I really hope this gives you a little bit more clearance on how the system with dynamic text works and maybe even a little bit more insights on dynamic transient assistants and static assistants. And I really hope you like that concept and you can leverage that for your business to make more money, to save more time, whatever it is that you're thriving for. And if you would like me to make any specific video about Vapi or anything else, you're most welcome to drop me a message below in the comments. For now, I'm saying thank you. And once more, you can get the templates for free in the Resource Hub. Don't hesitate getting them. It's really awesome and you definitely want to use them because they are way better than the previously ones that I made in my other videos. So this is literally golden and trust me, I spent quite a bit of time on finding if this is the best setup. In my opinion, I think it is one of the best ones that I have ever used for a simple setup inside of make.com. But that's it now. I really hope you enjoyed it and you got some value out of it. If you did, would appreciate if you like and subscribe my videos and I'm gonna see you next time. Thanks for watching. Take care.